Give it horns. Evening, y'all. How's it going? Welcome to another Lockdown Live chat. Another month as we bring back some of the original OGs from our lockdown chats. Here to unpack all of this, my notorious co-host, the purveyor of all things Dracona Media, Mr. Alec Larson. How's it going, man?
Oh, good, man. I've just been on leave for like 3 days. So getting back into the swing of things and, the whole post-holiday blues, they're a real thing. So all good. It's good to round off a hard work day with a metal chat. So
damn right. And we couldn't think of somebody more metal to join us than guitarist, co-founder, and all-round death metal shredder, Mr. Francois of the Fallen Prophets. How's it going? We just call you Mr. Francois here.
Oh, wow.
How's it going, man?
What's up, guys? You doing well?
Yeah, it's pandemic still going, but bit of light at the end of the tunnel, as we'll dive into later on in this chat. But yeah, it's been a while since you've joined us, Francois. As a matter of fact, last time we spoke, you guys hadn't even released your notorious, brutal new outlook on life, the No End in Sight EP. So I guess, picking up from December and all of that, how have things been in the Fallen Prophets camp since then?
Oh, well, it's almost been a year, dude. It's like we almost in December again. So it's been good. We've been writing, we've been practicing here and there. Not a lot, just here and there. Obviously, we've been practicing by ourselves, but mostly we've been composing some tracks and stuff that we are hopefully going to be releasing soon. And obviously, the last time we chatted, Daniel wasn't in the band. So we got a new addition on lead guitar, and I moved to rhythm, and so it's been exciting. It's nice to have him, and the dynamic changed a bit, but it's still decent. It's very decent.
Oh yeah.
awesome. Lyle did touch on the fact that we saw you just before No End in Sight came out. So how was the writing process for this? Like, how different was it for No End in Sight? Obviously, you guys also incorporated some slightly more Black and Death style, as well as some guest solos. So,
yeah. So, well, the writing that we're doing now is obviously the No End in Sight, myself and Peter co-wrote. And on that stage, I felt, look, on solos and lead guitaring and stuff like that, I'm not as good as where I would like the band's solo or lead guitaring to be. So for that release, we thought, let's get some of our friends and I think the only person that's not like our friend that we got was Chris from Virginia. But the rest of the guys all were mates of ours, and we just asked them, hey guys, do a solo for us, and it came out pretty well. I was very satisfied with it. And then from there, we took the other. But with the new stuff, we've now got 3 guys writing, and we also incorporated the full band experience. So there's a little bit of everyone in all the tracks that we wrote, which I liked. I liked getting Vian's input and getting Dylan's input, and Daniel sending me a track and me sending him, and Peter, and we all it was like a mengelmoes of tracks going around, and it was quite a decent experience. First time we did it like that, so I think it's very dynamic this time around.
Yeah, well, it's definitely one thing I've noticed. Like the one thing that Alec mentioned is production. I mean, compared to Relentless Killing Motivation, and we said the same thing to Daniel when it came to Holver for the evolution from their EP compared to their previous album. For the Fallen Prophets, No End in Sight compared to Relentless Killing Motivation, it just like blasts off the Richter scale. It is as tight a production as I think you could get. So obviously, number one.
If I can be honest about between No End in Sight and Relentless, Look, we wrote No End in Sight literally in like 4 months. So it was like a lockdown came and we were like, what are we gonna do? Let's write music. And a lot of the songs, they're all similar, I would say, like similar structure, similar. It's not very dynamic EP, I would say. It's very like the songs bounce one off one another, and we were like, hey, this all sounds good. It sounds like a unit. It's quickly written. I think we emphasized that, hey guys, this was written in a very short period of time. This is like it's like a change slash what do you call it, like just a small project. It's not like something major that we spent a lot of time and stuff on, even though the production was superb. That's obviously Mr. Coleman. So
yeah, shout out to Heinrich at Burning Tone. We seem to give him more shout outs than we do ourselves, but yeah. Like, but yeah, you did mention you brought Daniel Lowe on as a guitarist. Obviously, this might add a little bit of a different dynamic, like you mentioned, to the band. Now you've incorporated them a little bit. The writing process in terms of the material still primarily written though by you, and the crux of it, like yourself and Peter.
Yeah, I must say, like, it was because we're so many now, we all split up. So I'm very impressed with Daniel. Like, for example, you guys asked him last week, the question was, how do you write differently for each band? Like, doesn't Alvaro stuff maybe influence some Prophet stuff and so on? And to be honest, he's played me the Abaddon stuff he's been writing, and it's totally different. I don't know how he does it. He zones in on something. He's got an idea for like the Prophets, and then he will transcribe it on tabs and whatever and send it to me, and I'll be like, damn, this sounds like a Prophet track. So he's very good, and he wrote a lot of riffs and a few tracks. I wrote a few, Peter wrote a few, Vian wrote a few riffs. He didn't write a full song, but he did have a lot of input in riffs and stuff like that. And obviously Dylan has all the implications on the drums. So yeah, it's been amazing working with him. Even it's the first time. Obviously, we weren't like buddies before we joined the band, so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna work with this guy. I know a lot, and it was a pleasure. He's amazing. He's become one of my buddies, and yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the other guy in the band, Peter. Obviously, now the axe has been taken away from him in terms of the live performance. You think this will influence the actual live performance in terms of vocal delivery from him, and being able to control it as opposed to having to play technical riffs as well as sing?
Yes, no, definitely, dude. I think definitely even the practices and stuff, the vocals sound exactly like it is on the record. Because he has all that. I mean, the vocals for No End in Sight was quite, like he pushed it quite hard. And I was very proud of him. He did an exceptional job on it. And I was like, wow, how are you going to do this with a guitar? And we're in here now, he doesn't need one. So and I don't know if you've ever seen him with Nebula Disrupt. So he used to join Johan on stage, and they would like rile out the crowd. It's like just them two running up and down and like scream here, scream there. So he's quite a performer, dude. He's very, if he won't just stand there and vocal. He will get the crowd running. He will, you know, he's a very feed off the crowd type of guy. So I've got no worries. I actually can't wait to see it. It's going to put a smile on my face to see him a little bit more in his vocal element, and him just doing his thing.
Right.
No, that's awesome. So obviously with Peter now not playing guitar, I assume he still like contributes in terms of writing.
Yeah.
And with you taking more of a rhythm sort of approach to writing, I know that it can be super freeing from a composition standpoint, not limiting yourself to what you're playing.
Yeah.
So like, has the writing process changed and sort of like you can write something maybe even more technical, like beyond your abilities from a lead perspective, and then just hope that Daniel will be able to pull it off? Is that sort of like the process that you guys go for now? Or
it's more the other way around, where he writes something that's like and sends it to me. I'm like, oh dude, it's gonna take me like a few weeks to get that going, and that's how it is. So obviously he's more the technical wiggly doodly guy, so he'll put pieces like that into the songs, and I'm more the chugga 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 guy. So when he sends me those things, I'm always like, for God's sake, Daniel, just write something easier. But then at the end of the day, I have to learn it. So it's been a ride. The songs that we've been writing, they're very, very hard. They're way faster than the other stuff, and they're hard. They're very hard.
No, that's awesome. Good to push the boundaries.
It is definitely.
There was actually a question I think I wanted Alec to kind of direct, but I'll ask it anyway, because I don't think we've actually ever asked it to one of our guests, and that's the name, the Fallen Prophets. Who came up with it? What does it mean to you?
It doesn't mean a lot, dude. It's a funny story, because I would like to tell the story as if there was something like a backstory behind it. You know, like these prophets, they were like in church and got slain, and then they came back to like haunt the people. You know, I wanted it to be brutal. But what actually happened was Peter and one of our mates were sitting, and this guy was like a beginner of a drummer, and Peter could only vocal. So they would just, guy would play drums and he would vocal. And they were sitting, and they had one guy had a they were skateboarders, so one guy had a prophet's deck, and the other guy wore fallen shoes, and they were like, Fallen Prophets. And that's how the name came about, and it just stuck. So it's not a few prophets that were slain and came back to haunt people. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh,
yeah.
At least the music has become the name, you know, like the name, like the music kind of became the name in time, I guess.
Yeah, I would also say that.
I'm just wondering, this whole Black and Death style that you guys have taken, I mean, the general response to the EP, how have you guys felt with it? I mean, obviously you've gradually changed over the years, but now you guys have definitely like tethered into the Black and technical death side. So how people online been reacting to it? I've been seeing relatively good.
Yeah, very well. Luke, I after listening to No End in Sight a lot, it's not a lot of Black and Death. There's more, I would say, black metal parts in it. And what I would say it's more like just like extreme death metal, I would say. It's super fast, and it's got the chugga chugga, and it's got the little black metal part here and there, and then your odd breakdown, which is not like a proper slam the whole song through, but like just the lacquer part where you can lose your shit. But it's been decent, dude. We've gotten very good feedback, and obviously sending links to people and stuff. And yeah, but we've obviously, after the EP, we've gotten a whole bunch of new dedicated fans, a lot of them overseas, not locally. So which is nice. We feel that type of music that we made is more kosher to the international standard of listeners, I would say.
Yeah. Definitely not dissing the local fans. I mean, you guys are brutal and all.
No, not at all. I'm just saying the new fans that we've gotten were mostly international people. Like we haven't gotten like I'm talking about physical followers, people that subscribe to our YouTube, people that follow our band. Like obviously it's not a lot, it's like maybe 5 a day. So I can look where they're from. It's not like hundreds where I'm going to go through all of them, But I mean, it's like very little a day. So I see, oh, this guy's from the US, so this guy's from England, and I'm like, oh, that's cool, dude. Yeah, it's not like.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, damn right.
So last week when we spoke to Daniel, we obviously talked about tunings, and we mentioned the fact that Fallen Prophets is obviously a lot lower tuned than the stuff that he deals with normally. So being in B standard. Now, something that I've also noticed is, I mean, B standard is obviously your standard tuning for a 7-string guitar, but a lot of death metal bands play in B standard, but prefer your extended or like baritone scale 6 strings, or just set up 6 strings to play on in B standard. So what's your sort of take on this? Like, what do you think the reasoning behind it is, and also what's your sort of your favorite go-to guitar for recording and, you know, playing live, I guess?
Lekker, that's a cool question. So I've tried numerous things. So I've tried the short 25.5 scale with fat 68 gauge. You get those Alexa baritone strings. That works well. I've played like that for years. I've recorded albums like that. The Guitar Station tune. The only thing that I didn't like about those thick strings is that you have very little chugga, and I would say if I want to do like a nice squeal, it breaks the fingers almost, because the vibrato and stuff is not lacquer on it.
Yeah.
So what I found was I actually got a baritone. This one here.
Oh,
awesome.
So it's a LTD FM 400 or something like that. So that's the 27-inch scales, and for that I use a thinner string. So it stays in tune completely, and obviously with the scale length being longer, the guitar's strings has more tension. Because if I had to put those strings on a normal 25.5 scale, then it would be too sloppy. Yeah, so that's decent. I play with, let's say, I think it's 12 to 56, which is also relatively thick, but I mean, it's still not for that tuning, and it stays in tune very well. I lay down tracks with that. It's solid.
Yeah,
I love it. And the reason why I think people don't use the 7-string, because too much low end, I would say. Way too much low end, where the 6-string, it just cuts through. It has a little bit more of a, I would say, a spunk to it, and not so low and boomy.
Yeah,
like the 7-string.
Cool. No, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's just my personal feel. I'm not like a guitar expert or anything. It's just what I've experienced.
Sweet.
Well, yeah, whatever makes the noise, I guess, at the end of the day, if it sounds good, it sounds good, you know. I guess it's been a question we've been asking all the OGs, so to speak. This whole lockdown has really knocked the entertainment industry really hard. And I mean, there's been a lot of your guys' peers that have kind of fallen from the wayside due to this pandemic and lack of gigs and stuff. But on the flip side, we've had a hell of a lot of new talent emerge out of SA, like all different types of genres, you know, hardcore, death metal, thrash, you know, but like all variations of alternatives. So what are your thoughts on this whole influx of new talent that's come out? Like all these bands that have probably never shared the stage with any of you guys, might not know any of you guys personally, all these new guys. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, it's good. We need it. We need, like, I'm very sad that a lot of like old bands, even though there's other things attached to it, like Megalodon and Zombies and Infanteria, and all the old like proper metal bands that's been here for years, all are like disbanded, and there's very little bands left. And that's quite sad for me, because I think back on the days where it was fun, where it was lacquer, it's like every weekend you can go see these bands at, let's say, Mercury or Roar, And now there's not even those venues anymore, which is even more worrying for me. So the other day, myself and Peter were speaking, we we're like, let's just do a show, like a free show. We just want to play, that's all. Let's just do a free show. We get like 2 other bands, we do it at Trenchtown, and we're like, who are we gonna ask to play with us? And we struggled so hard just to find like a few, and we haven't done anything yet. It was just an idea. But now, I mean, we're playing with Bullet Script at Ellington, which is it's a nice place, but the stage is like super small, and it's like the Fallen Prophets played their very first gig in 2013, end of 2013. We played our very first show. So it's almost like going back to the roots because there's nothing else to go back to. But I mean, that's it.
Yeah, well, I mean, you did mention on the plus side, as this pandemic, for the most part right now, tends to be loosening up. And we've been through this a number of times with you guys throwing a concert and then having the event have to shut down. But as far as it stands, you guys do have that gig coming up at Ellington's over Halloween with another OG band, Bullet Script, which it's another band that is kind of got their roots stable. They're very known, especially like, you know, in the metal community here. They're like a live show, you know, that is as solid as you can get. I guess the question that kind of has to emerge from this, it's like, with the possibility of this pandemic opening up maybe around the end of next year, what do you see the future with like the venues and stuff? When we spoke to Patrick, he was saying that we might have to go a backward step and get back to being almost guerrilla tactics, finding fresh new venues, obscure venues. So what are your thoughts of the SA metal scene moving forward after this pandemic?
Yeah, I totally agree with him. That's why I mentioned, like, after the pandemic, we as a band are going back to the place where we first ever gigged, like as a unit. So I think there's going to be a lot of rebuilding. It would be great if someone with some extra cash can like buy a Mercury or like just buy a venue and start from scratch. But obviously, with the whole economy being broken, that's not going to happen. So it's going to be like people that has the facility, and I would say people that know someone, and like Patrick, he networks a lot, so he knows who has that obscure venue and stuff like that. So it's going to take like a leader like him to maybe resurrect it, I would say, because he would know where to go, where to do that. For example, also like using Trenchtown, which is also the owner of Roar. They also have a nice little facility there, but the thing is, does people know that? Do people know that you can do it there? Will people come there if you do something there, or will you just jam there to like a totally new crowd who's not metal, just because they happen to be there that night? You don't know. So it's definitely a gray area, but I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait for it to drop. I mean, we're on level 1 now, and I think we're heading towards somewhere. So yeah, I'm actually excited, but also a little bit worried.
Well, there's nothing wrong to have a little bit of concern. I guess in terms of the concert, one final thing. I mean, obviously, you guys only had a few chances to play our tracks from Relentless Killing Motivation. No End in Sight hasn't been jammed out live at all. So are there any particular tracks that you're just like frothing to jam at this gig?
Definitely the No End in Sight stuff. Definitely want to jam. We're jamming the whole EP on the 30th.
Yeah.
And then obviously some mid-picked songs. Yeah, we might jam like a golden oldie as well. So I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, that's awesome. You guys finally got copies of the Japanese limited edition of the EP.
Yes.
and I think are they up on Subterranean Music at the moment, or
Yep, they're available. Yep. Across all
so
or hit them up on their Bandcamp.
Cool. Besides that, are there any like final plugs that you want to mention before we draw this to close? Or is there any merch that you'd like to push? Anything?
Yeah, so our friends from Wrath Inc. blessed us with like 20 odd shirts. It's still Wrath merch that obviously was always being sold at shows, but now that there's no shows, they blessed us with it and said, hey guys, you can sell this. I hope it helps you. And so we've got a lot of Wrath merch. We've got some Relentless CDs, and we've got the Japanese No End in Sight versions that we're going to bring with to hopefully make some bucks with.
Damn right. You guys must support. Always support local, and the packaging is mental on that Japanese print. It's like an actual full booklet. It's like, yeah, there it is. It's beauty.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and that album along with Relentless for any of the international guys will be available on Subterranean. We'll include a link to that in the description as well. But yeah, Francois, this has been awesome catching up, man. It's always nice to have like one of the guys that we started off the lockdown chats with coming back and not being so I don't want to say self-deprecating, but you know, we're looking a little bit on the bright side. We're being cautious, but yeah, man, it's so awesome to hear that you guys are knocking out new music. Hopefully, we have some new stuff coming in the new year from you. I obviously best of luck for the show coming up, Halloween vibes. We'll include a link to that also at Ellington's, them and Bullet Script. And yeah, man, just again, thanks again. You just keep on shredding and we will keep on listening.
Awesome. Thanks, dude. Thank you, Alec.
Sweet, dude.
Awesome. Alec, what do you say, man? Are we done for another week?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling motivated. Let's see how this next week goes ahead. Hopefully our president doesn't pull the plug. We're keeping fingers crossed. Aside from that, you guys have a wicked week ahead. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. That helps. And yeah, we'll be back same time, same place on the interweb next week. Also, guys, have a wicked week ahead. Laters.